Hey guys, Sean P from Silicon Theory here, and this is the Galaxy S9 Plus. As Silicon Theory's resident Samsung fanboy, I was tasked with reviewing it, and it's both amazing and really boring at the same time. Here's our review. Alright guys, so let's jump in and talk specs. I'm not sure that this is as important in 2018 as it was in previous years, but for what it's worth, Samsung basically packed the Galaxy S9 Plus to the gills with the top-end specs. We have a 6.2-inch Quad HD Plus 2960 by 1440 AMOLED screen. It's a great screen. It's basically very similar to what we saw in the S8 Plus last year and the Note 8, but it's punchy, plenty bright. If you go outdoors, it pumps the brightness up even higher so that you can see. You can adjust color temperature. There's different presets for different settings for cinema, picture, etc. It's a great screen. Not a lot bad to say there. It's the best on the market in my opinion. We also have a Snapdragon 845 with an Adreno 630. We have 6 gigabytes of RAM, a 3500 mAh battery. We have 64 gigabytes of internal storage, SD card slot, dual cameras, fast wireless charging, and IP68 dust and water resistance. When you're looking at the spec sheet, there's not a whole lot to hate here. It even still has a headphone jack, which has been dropped by most OEMs. I can't really think of anything the Galaxy S9 Plus is missing. Samsung's really good about giving you a lot of value for your money and pumping everything it can into their smartphones, and this is no exception. Alright, so let's talk design, which is simultaneously one of the strongest parts about the Galaxy S9 Plus and in some ways one of the most disappointing parts for me. Samsung basically took the phone from last year, the Galaxy S8 Plus, strapped dual cameras on, moved the fingerprint sensor from to the side of the camera to more of the middle bottom where it should have been in the first place, shrunk the bottom bezel ever so slightly, and called it a day. So, this design is still one of the best on the market. I mean, Samsung was one of the first last year with this kind of infinity, taller, 18.5 by 9 ratio screens with less bezel, but this year it's kind of disappointing that they didn't do more in my opinion. I'm happy that they addressed some of the weaknesses of last year's phone, moving the fingerprint scanner and shrinking the bezel ever so slightly, but really it looks virtually identical to last year's phone, and in some ways that's a disappointment. I feel like from year to year there's more pressure to stand out, and standing pat on the design was maybe not the best decision on planet Earth. And it's kind of another weird oddity. Compared to the Note 8, which people made fun of for the fingerprint scanner, I actually found the fingerprint scanner on the S9 Plus to be less comfortable. I got used to having the scanner up high, and my hands are big enough that it was never really an issue to reach. Whereas on the Galaxy S9 Plus, I always found myself reaching too high, and I actually had to bring my finger down to try to reach the fingerprint scanner. So it wasn't quite as convenient as I expected. In some ways, it felt like a step backwards. Overall, I think this is still one of the better looking phones out there. The display really being the key piece here and the rounded edges, it really still does give that kind of infinity pool look, so it's not a bad looking phone by any means. I just wish that Samsung had pushed the envelope more. Maybe get rid of the bottom bezel completely or shrink this down a little bit up top too, and I don't know, there's just something a little too familiar about this design, and in the land of $900 smartphones, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed. One of the major things that I think all buyers are looking at in their phone is battery life, so let's discuss that. The Galaxy S9 Plus has the same size battery as the S8 Plus last year, which is a relatively healthy 3500 milliamp hour battery. This phone's running on Verizon, and for the most part I was doing a mix of kind of cell and Wi-Fi. We're in the suburbs out in Southern California, so reception's good. So take that in mind when you're kind of talking about battery life. Overall, I found the battery life to be good. Not great, but good. It'll get you through a day. I left always on display on, which I typically don't. I usually turn that off on my phones, but I kind of wanted to use the more out-of-the-box experience, so I left it on the S9 Plus. And, over the course of the day and using it, the battery always got me through a full day. Typically, I'm ending the day somewhere between 45 and 60%, which is a little bit of a range. With my Note 8 under similar use, I usually end the day somewhere between 50 and 60, but that's with always on display turned off, which I left it on here. And again, the battery life's good. On standby, it wasn't quite as good as I was expecting. Maybe this is kind of a consequence of going from the Snapdragon 835 to the Snapdragon 845. The process didn't change. We stayed at 10 nanometers, so there wasn't much of a necessary battery savings from that standpoint. And with that in mind, the battery life just felt very similar. So again, good battery life. It'll get you through a day. Let's talk camera. So last year with the Note 8, Samsung introduced their first dual camera smartphone. This has kind of become table stakes for flagship phones, so everyone's kind of jumped on the dual camera bandwagon, and the S9 Plus jumped on that tradition. So very similar to the Note 8, we have two 12 megapixel cameras, but unlike last year, one of them is actually kind of variable aperture, which is something we've not seen before. The main camera on this phone can actually change aperture from f1.5 to f2.4. And the idea with this is it will give you a better picture depending on the lighting conditions. So it kind of would automatically sense, hey, we're in a dark condition, let's go to that smaller aperture, or we're in a condition with plenty of light, let's move to the larger aperture. And that way it kind of always is giving you the best picture no matter what. It just does it. In practical application though, I'm not really sure how much this is improving things from a picture standpoint. When I was taking pictures next to the Note 8, kind of side by side, the pictures ended up very similar to my eyes, and that was across a range of lighting conditions. So in good light, I didn't notice a ton of difference. The S9 Plus might be a tiny bit brighter when you're looking at it, but I almost think the difference in the pictures has a lot more to do with the way the processing is being handled, slight tweaks in the algorithms, rather than the difference in aperture. In low light, it's still a champ. I'm amazed at how much light this can pick up, even in very low light conditions. You can go outside, in almost pitch black, and it still picks up a ton of light. It's pretty incredible. Pictures aren't that noisy either. I don't know how they do it, but again, if you're looking at the difference between where we were with the Note 8 and where we are with this new camera setup, I didn't notice that much difference. There is a tiny bit more light coming through. I think images at low light were a tiny bit less noisy, but the differences were not stark. So I applaud Samsung for kind of making that leap and doing something new. I think this camera system has a lot of potential, and as they refine it, we'll probably see a lot of improvement. But in day-to-day use, it's pretty similar to the Note 8, which was already a great camera. Overall, I still think they're at the top of the camera smartphone heap, if you will, with the iPhone Pixel 2 XL, and you might want to add the Huawei P20 Pro into there. Great camera, kind of top of the market. It's just not that much different from their previous phones, and this is another area where I'm not seeing drastic differences, from year to year. The Galaxy S7 took great pictures, the Galaxy S8 took great pictures, the Galaxy S9 takes great pictures, so good stuff, not that much different. Let's talk about performance, which has not traditionally been one of Samsung's strong suits, we'll say. TouchWiz, which they now call something else, but it's still TouchWiz to me. The skin that they put over Android has always been one that it slowed things down. Compared to a stock Android device, it always felt like things were a touch slower than they should be, and it would slow down over time, which was one of the main complaints. Even on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus last year, there was a little bit of this going on. People get the phone, and after a while, feel like it's slowed down. With the Note 8, they released a different version of Grace UX, the new TouchWiz, and things sped up. There was a noticeable improvement in stability in the operating system, less dropped frames, performance just improved a lot. The Galaxy S9 Plus continues on this, so this phone is very fast in day-to-day use out of the box. When you're interacting with the phone and moving things around, everything feels very quick. There's no lag that I really ran into, which is nice. Now, having used something like the Pixel 2 XL and the OnePlus 5, it's still not quite as fast as those phones. There's just something about the snappiness of those phones that this doesn't have, but I don't think you're ever going to be disappointed in the performance. It's quick. One thing I will say though is, interestingly, we've definitely hit the point of diminishing returns. Compared to the Note 8, which I use daily, which is using last year's Snapdragon 835, I didn't really notice that much of a difference in speed or day-to-day performance. They both open apps quickly, retain things in memory. You can pull apps up, fast when you need them. Everything's responsive and, quick when you're interacting with the screen. So performance is snappy. I don't think it's to the Pixel 2 XL level, but for most people, it's definitely fast enough, and we've definitely hit a level where I can hardly tell a difference in performance between last year's phone and this year's phone, which is probably not great for companies that are trying to sell you on the latest and greatest. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get kind of to the verdict of this phone. This is a weird review for me. This is a great phone. If you were someone new on Android and you said, what phone should you buy? I would recommend this phone. If you had a smartphone a couple years old and you said, which Android phone should I buy? I would also say this phone. And yet at the same time, I don't love it for some reason. I know that sounds weird. I think we're just spoiled. It has everything. I mean, literally the specs are packed to the gills. I can hardly name something that it doesn't have. The screen's the best in class. The camera's amongst the best in class. Performance is solid. Battery life is really good. Water and dust resistance, fast wireless charging. It really brings almost everything you could think of to the table from a spec standpoint. And I still felt kind of cold towards the phone, and maybe that's just a symptom of being spoiled, but there was too much deja vu going on for me as I was using it. I just wish Samsung had done more this year. I don't know, more of a design change, something interesting. This feels very much to me like the Galaxy S8 Plus that I had, and very much like the Note 8 Plus that I'm currently using as a daily driver. It's just very, very similar. New buyers shouldn't penalize Samsung for that, but for me, I just look at it and go, boy, I just wish they had done more. I think from a value standpoint, the value proposition here is actually really strong. The normal price is about, I think, $849 on most carriers. It varies a little bit. Even at that price point, if you're comparing to other things on the market, I think it's very favorable what this brings to the table as far as the collection of specs and the user experience. So, should you buy the phone? If you have something older than a Galaxy S8 Plus and you're a Samsung fan, absolutely, this is great. If you are using an Android phone that is older than last year, I would also say yes, you should buy this phone. But if you have one of last year's flagships, if you have a Note 8, S8 Plus, Pixel 2 XL, something like that, I don't think it's worth the money or the upgrade. It's just too similar to those phones. There's not a whole lot here that's a lot different than what you're using today. So that makes it a complicated situation. Overall, I would both highly recommend this phone and at the same time go, if you have something newer, don't bother. Kind of weird, right? But that's where we're at. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for this review. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to give us the thumbs up. And if you love what you see, and how could you not, hit the subscribe button. We'll do it again soon. Thanks a lot, guys.